What's up, guys? Joe Rangel from Old School Fitness. Man, I haven't done one of these car lectures in a while. So let's talk about carbs for a second, okay? Can we do that? So yeah, you know, I've made plenty of videos in the past about how carbs are not the enemy, and all these crazy diets where you get rid of carbohydrates completely, and all these things aren't the right way to go for most people. And then ironically, I ended up on a keto-esque diet because of medical reasons. But you know, some of it bears repeating, and then here's some stuff that you haven't necessarily heard from me before, okay? So one, I'm just going to throw this out there just so everybody understands, at least the way we do things here, carbs are not the enemy. Carbs don't make you fat. Fat doesn't make you fat. Protein doesn't make you fat. Sugar doesn't make you fat. Aspartame doesn't make you fat. Fruit doesn't make you fat. What makes you fat is eating too much over your BMR. What makes you fat is eating more than you burn in a day. That's what makes you fat, okay? Can you do it on carbs? Sure, it's easy to do. Do it on protein? Absolutely. Do it on fat? Yep, okay? You can do it on any one of those things, but no one of those things, eliminating them, is going to make you not get fat, okay? You can eliminate all the carbs in the world and overeat on protein and you will get fat, okay? That's how it goes, okay? Don't believe me? Try medical science, okay? As opposed to, you know, whatever keto guru is out there. But let's talk about carbs. Not all carbs are created equal. What are carbs for? What do carbs do in the body? Well, to put it absolutely the most simple I can, when you take in 1 gram of carbs, that gives your body 4 calories of energy. 1 gram of carbs equals 4 calories. You put it in your body, and your body starts to convert it into a thing called glucose. Glucose, sugar, let's call it sugar. That'll be easier for everybody, okay? So you take the carb in, it converts it into glucose. Then that glucose goes to work in your body doing different things, okay? Glucose powers your muscle movements. It powers some of your neurons, that's the nerves in your body, some of your thought processes, helps your organs run. Basically, glucose is kind of like the fuel that your body uses to, you know, be alive, okay? And it's why when people say, oh my God, my blood sugar is dropping, and then they pass out, that's why that happens. That's why you shut off, you're out of gas. Okay, too much glucose is a bad thing. If you've got too much glucose in your bloodstream, it's called being hyperglycemic, and at a certain point, that's what diabetics are. And too much glucose, at best, can keep you from losing weight and keep you from gaining muscle, and at worst, it can kill you. So you know, there's a reason that everything in the body is at a certain level. Now, when you put the glucose, or you put the carbs in and it turns into glucose, your body creates insulin through the pancreas. The insulin comes along and slowly pushes that glucose into the places it needs to be, into the muscles, into the fat stores, and out of the body through elimination. That's insulin's job. That's what it does. Now, if your insulin's not working right, like mine, then you can have too much glucose floating around in your bloodstream, and that can create those problems that we were talking about, right? Here's where the whole carbs are evil myth started, because we in the United States of America eat way too much, period, of everything, really. But we love our carbohydrates, right? We love our pancakes for breakfast. We love our sweet foods. We love all sorts of things. Here in Hawaii, where I live, we have the highest, or at least we did last year, per capita rate of type 2 diabetes than any other state, because the folks here, they love to eat their 5-scoop rice with everything, right? So we eat way too much as Americans, as a whole. That's just a fact. We're the only country in the world, you've heard me say it before, in history that is having a health crisis from having too much to eat, okay? But that being said, we do need the carbohydrates. But carbohydrates are not all created equal. Some carbohydrates are what we call fast or simple, and some are what we call slow or complex. You may have heard the term complex carbohydrates, simple carbs, those kind of things. There's another thing we use called the glycemic index. I already told you what glucose was, that's glycemic. Index just means where it falls in on the scale. If it's a high glycemic index or high GI carb, it's going to be a simple carb, and that means it converts to sugar really quick in your body. It causes a quick, hard insulin spike, and it converts really quick. If it's a low glycemic carbohydrate, that means it causes a more steady, slow insulin response, and it converts to sugar slowly in your body. Okay? Pretty simple. So your high glycemic carbs, things like white rice, sugar, white bread, tropical fruits, syrups, just about every single thing that you can buy in a bakery. Those are all high glycemic carbs. Low glycemic carbs tend to have a lot of fiber in them. And what happens is the fiber kind of slows down the process. So the more fiber, the slower it usually is. So when you talk about your low glycemic carbs, you're talking about things like whole wheat, brown rice, and then on the sweet potatoes. On the extreme end of the low glycemic, like way down, you have your really dense cruciferous vegetables like spinach, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, green beans. Those are so low glycemic that they are in a diet almost free because they don't really cause an insulin spike at all. On the extreme high end, you've got, like I said, tropical fruits, the really sweet things. Now, there was a push for a while to get people to stop using the high glycemic carbs and get them to start using the low glycemic carbs. For a while, any restaurant you went into, they started offering brown rice because everyone thought that was the secret to losing weight. Here's the thing. You need both, okay? And I had a conversation with a client recently, and she said she didn't want to eat rice because it has no nutritional value. That's not exactly correct. White rice has been stripped. It has been stripped of its nutrients, and then they reinsert the nutrients into it, the niacin and the stuff. But I'm not giving it to you guys for the nutritional value. You're going to get your niacin and your vitamin A and your folic acid from other places. The reason I give it to you is because I'm trying to create a high, quick, fast insulin response and a high sugar response in your body. Why would we want that? Why would you ever want that? Well, because if we do it right before we work out, then that gets the fuel right into the muscle right there, so you have the power and energy to get through your workout. And then I give it to you right after your workout in your post-workout shake. Why would I ever do that? Because when you get that insulin response in there, it helps speed the whey protein that you're taking in your whey shake afterwards into your muscles. There's a great reason to have a high fast carb. When do we give you slow carbs? Usually the meal after you work out. So about an hour after that shake, you'll see me put something like potatoes or sweet potatoes or something in there because I still want your body having that response, but I want it to start to slow down. Where do you see me never put any carbs at all? Usually at night. Usually at night. Is it evil to eat carbs at night? No. But I can maximize your body's digestive process if at night on your last meal I don't add carbs, but I do put in some fats to slow down the digestion of your meal so that it's feeding your body all night. Okay? Sometimes in the morning, you'll see we'll put some slow carbs and some fast carbs because we want to get the energy started for the day. And the fast carbs are just get an insulin response started in your body in case you woke up in a catabolic state. That really depends. But at the end of the day, I'm not just throwing things out at your diets. There's a reason that certain carbohydrates are put in certain places. And when you come to me and you say, oh, well, do we have a substitute for this food? Do we have a substitute for that food? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And no food that is made like bread or tortillas or anything is all one type of macronutrient. Like for instance, tortillas. I'm half Mexican. I love tortillas. Yeah, they're full of carbs. They're also full of fat. Lots of it, and not the good kind either. And when you talk about calorie for carbohydrate bang for your buck, they're not a good choice. White bread is almost never a good choice. Almost never, just because it's so processed. Soda, almost never. And I say almost because I could come across a client who may benefit from it. I would never say never, but yeah, almost never. Almost never, just because it's so processed. Soda, almost never. And I say almost because I could come across a client who may benefit from it. I would never say never, but yeah, almost never. But almost never. And then I had a great question today from somebody asking about beans and legumes, and somebody else asked about nuts. Are those a protein or are they a carb? Well, beans are a high fiber carb, and nuts are a fat. And yes, I understand they both have protein in them, but they don't have a complete protein in them. And when you hear that, what that means is protein, insulin is a protein. Protein is just a chain of amino acids. The chain of amino acids required to burn fat and build muscle, that type of protein, is complete in whey, casein, and egg, and animal proteins. Okay, it comes complete. It's got everything you need. In vegetable proteins, it does not come complete. So when you hear a vegan or a vegetarian say, oh, it's got plenty of protein in it, well, it does have protein, but it's not a complete protein that you need for building muscle and burning fat, which is why you have to eat nuts and seeds and beans and all these other things to try and get all the different amino acids put together. And when it comes down to it, the amount of those things you would have to eat to get one serving of complete protein that you get from, say, a protein shake is more than most people are willing to do. I'm not down on the plant-based lifestyle. I'm not against it at all. I'm just talking about how protein synthesis and carbs work in your body, and they're just the facts. So nuts are a fat source. They're a great fat source, not a protein source. Beans are a carbohydrate, not a protein source. Okay? All right, guys. I hope that answers some questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up on text or Facebook Messenger. I love talking to you guys. Right now, I have got to get over into the gym to work out. Love you. Talk to you later.